Thank you everyone for coming. We're going to go ahead and get started with our program. This is my daughter, Savannah Shepherd. She's responsible for organizing this event tonight. She's also the founder of the Delaware Social Justice Remembrance Coalition, who is sponsoring tonight's event. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I first want to thank all of you for coming out to remember all of those who've been wrongfully taken from us solely because of the color of their skin. And I want to give a special thanks to my mom for coming up with the amazing idea to hold a prayer service, and County Executive Meyer for allowing this to happen with such amazing support. It is so beautiful to see a community come together like this to talk about and acknowledge such an important topic, and I thank God for bringing us all together safely. 117 years ago to the day, on the very land that you are standing on, an African-American farm laborer named George White was dragged by a white mob from the workhouse where he was being held to a very violent and public death. 29 days ago, a 46-year-old black man named George Floyd was pinned down on the streets of Minneapolis and suffered a painful and public death at the hands of a white man. 3 months and 10 days ago, a 26-year-old black woman named Breonna Taylor was killed in the comfort of her home by 3 white men. 5 months ago to the day, a 25-year-old black man named Ahmaud Arbery was shot and killed by 3 white men while going for a jog in his own neighborhood. These are just the names of 4 innocent black men and women who were killed at the hands of white perpetrators and were denied security by the very people whose job it is to protect them. We are here today to ensure that their names and the names of thousands of other innocent black people are never forgotten. We have seen law enforcement and other governmental systems lay idle while the black community is grasping to come from underneath the oppressor's hand. When starting my research into lynchings that have occurred in our nation, never would I have thought that I'd be speaking about or doing research on lynchings that have occurred in the last 6 months. It is time to lean into the uncomfortable situations and conversations that need to be had in order for change to come. Because I, a 17-year-old black girl, am tired of living with the palpable reality that I or my peers may be a target for hate simply because of a factor that I cannot control. I'm tired of society telling me that I'm not good enough, because the truth is, I am enough. Being black is beautiful, and being black is powerful, and no law, governmental system, or ideology can change that. So let's use today as a time to thank God for our differences, thank God for our struggles, and ask God to help our community come together as law enforcement, lawyers, activists, and students. Thank you. We would like to begin our program with remarks from esteemed leaders. Thank you so much for attending this event, and please come up in this order. So we're going to start with U.S. Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester, Delaware Attorney General Kathy Jennings, Newcastle County Executive Matt Meyer, and Newcastle County Police Chief Vaughn.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. First of all, to Savannah, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for the power that you bring to this present moment in our history. And thank you for your family that supports you in your efforts, and all of the community, the educators, and everyone who have helped you to be the incredible woman that you are. I think we should congratulate you on graduating from high school. You give us great hope. For those of you who are here today, it is a bitter moment. You know, some have said they think I'm a preacher. I'm not a preacher, but I do love the Lord, and I do believe in prayer. And so today, in the 1 or 2 minutes that I have, I want to start off by reiterating the book of James, that faith without works is dead, and that it is not just about the faith that we have, but the works that we do as a result of it. And that probably one of the greatest revolutionaries was Jesus Christ. And so today, I'm able to say this week, I get to do some work I get to go to Washington, D.C. on Thursday and vote for the Justice in Policing Act of 2020. And that our senators, Tom Carper and Chris Coons, are also on the battlefield as well as sponsors of the same bill on the Senate side. And they will make tough choices as well on our behalf. But when I thought about this moment and about prayer, I remember a friend saying to me that she doesn't pray, she didn't know how to pray, she didn't know what to say. And I said, if I were to sum prayer up in 3 words or 3 phrases, it would be 1, help. You call on the Lord, or you call on your God, or you call on the Creator when you need help. Another is, I'm sorry, forgive me. Because we need to be forgiven for the wrongs that we do when we are unlovable to each other and unlovable to this planet. And the last one is thank you. Help, I'm sorry, and thank you. I am so thankful for all of you who are out here today. I'm so thankful for this moment of transformation. I'm carrying with me right now the lanyard from being at George Floyd's funeral, which I got a chance to attend to represent Delaware. And we went to a very hallowed ground where he laid and where he was murdered. And so today, to be in another sacred space, let us remember. Let us remember. Let us never forget. I'm wearing the scarf of my ancestors, of my great-great-grandfather, and having that right to vote. Let us not forget, but let us turn that into action. And so I am so grateful to be with you. I am so ready to pray and to say I'm sorry for anything I did that was wrong and that offended. That we need help in this ever-present time, and that we are thankful that we are in this together and that we are going to make change to make our country the country that we want it to be for everybody, not just some, but for everyone. Thank you.
Lisa, you are amazing. You are all of our hearts, and thank you for that. Savannah, congratulations. I have watched you, and you have already become the leader you are and accomplished things that most of us at my age have not accomplished. And so I can't wait to see what you do next. I can't wait to see what you do next. And thank you so much for inviting me to this very special night. Colonel, County Executive Meyer, pastors, thank you for being here with me. We gather tonight at a time of tremendous pain in our state and in our nation. We mourn the loss of George Floyd, of Breonna Taylor, of Ahmaud Arbery, and of too many other Black men, women, and children. Tamir Rice was a child who were killed while unarmed, unresisting, and at times even unconscious. We denounce racism in all its forms, the overt violence and subversion of our past, and the legacy it has left in a systemic pattern of discrimination, bias, and disparity. And in the face of so much pain, so much sorrow, and so much frustration, we must remember that our future is a choice. And we must commit ourselves to reform and to progress. This is our history. We cannot change the past, but we cannot deny it either. The very place where we stand was the site of a lynching. A man was beaten, mutilated, and burned alive here after a mob of 3,000 people stormed the building where he was in custody and dragged him here. Not one person was held accountable. We are only now starting to teach this history about the bombings of Tulsa and Philadelphia, about brutal racist riots, in East St. Louis, Atlanta, and Chicago, about 4,000 lynchings that happen across this country, north and south, after the end of the Civil War. This is one of many uncomfortable conversations that we need to have because it is real and it just doesn't go under the rug. The average white American would not trade places with the average black American. We have to admit that something is wrong in this country. This is a time of unrest and a time of outrage, but it is also a time for me of hope. I am seeing more people, more young people stand up and speak out than I have seen in decades. And I believe sincerely that change is within our reach. The advocates are doing their job and doing it very well. Our job is to answer them and to help create the change that we so sorely need. It begins by looking inside of ourselves. It is so easy for each one of us to blame others, but the first thing we need to do to create change is look inside ourselves. And as Lisa said, ask for forgiveness. And if it's okay with the pastors, I'm going to recite a prayer because this is a time when we need the peace that is so hard to find. At a time when we are in such pain and collectively our hearts are broken. And this particular prayer gives me peace. And please repeat it with me. I'm sure many of you will know it well. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console. I won't make you do that. To be understood as to understand. To be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we were born to eternal life. Amen.
Good evening. It's really an honor to speak after our Congresswoman and our Attorney General. It's great to know that on the federal and state level we have leaders who are leading us with hope, with ethics, and with action every single day. Fighting hard fights, not always easy, sometimes very, very hard fights to do the right thing. The Attorney General came up here and said that the Congresswoman is our heart, and I could not agree more. But if the Congresswoman is our heart, I feel like Savannah is our soul. When Savannah calls, I listen. Governor Markell once told me that there were a few people who could walk into his office without appointment, because he knew that when they walked into his office, they weren't speaking for themselves. They weren't speaking just for their family or for their community, but they were speaking for all of us. They were speaking for those people who did not get a seat at the table. And when Savannah calls, I think we all agree, we answer because of that. And we only hope one day that we can hand off the keys to the county, to the Justice Department, to the U.S. Congress, to the White House, off to Savannah and to her generation in a better place than we found it. You know, when I grew up not far from here, going to Brandywine public schools, I learned that the American Revolution was a very just revolution. We were fighting against a British monarchy that was so unfair. And in the creation of America, there was the creation of a more just country that had ever been created before. It was an ideal, it wasn't just a country. But when I went to school here, I didn't learn enough about the injustice of the founding of our country. I didn't learn enough about the founding sin of our country and of the injustice that persisted. You know, just sitting here thinking, you know, it occurs to me, there are all these names, right? Tamir Rice and Trayvon, Breonna, of course, Rayshawn the other day in Atlanta. Those are only the ones for which we have cell phone video. How long in the history of this country has there been cell phone video? And so here today, I mourn not just for those whose names we know, but for the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, maybe the millions we don't even know, who lost their lives because of the color of their skin. Right here. Right here. And what Savannah has done, talking about this, while so few others were, is she's taken the cell phone of today and she's making videos of past generations, of past injustices, so that we can all look in the mirror, every single one of us. We can look in the mirror and take action to make our better selves. Whether it's the Congresswoman fighting a very challenging fight for criminal justice in Washington, the Attorney General fighting an incredibly, extraordinarily courageous fight. You see some things behind closed doors outside of newspapers that not everybody sees. An incredibly courageous battle for more fair criminal justice for every single person in our state. Or whether it's here locally, you'll hear from our police chief shortly. The incredible work he's done since 2017. Sending out non-uniform mental health counselors with police officers on patrol. I saw someone on CNN talking about it, that we should do more of that. Well, our police chief here in Newcastle County came into my office and told me in 2017 that we're going to do it. And so I want to thank you so much, Savannah, for providing that cell phone video, not just into our past, but into our present, and now into our future. So we can look not just at criminal justice, we can look at beyond. We can look beyond. I taught for 4 years before I ran for office. All in 3 different schools, one of which was in Wilmington, all of which were predominantly children of color. And it really haunts me. There's not a way that you can look at the education that those children got and that those children get today and say it was an equal educational opportunity. There's no way. And so when are we now 33 years, I was a math teacher, so I should know, 233 years into this American experiment, when are we going to look ourselves in the mirror and say, we truly want to realize that vision of a truly just nation? And as the Attorney General stated, it's really up to us. The future, it's up to all of us. What kind of Greenbank Park do we want? What kind of county do we want? And what kind of country do we want? Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. You know, oftentimes when you have to speak, you try try to jot down something and you try to figure out exactly what it is that you want to say. And I'll be honest with everyone here, I have wrestled with this all day long. And I don't have anything written down. And quite honestly, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I don't know what I want to say. I know that there are a flood of emotions that I have experienced since May 25th that I have never experienced a day in my life. I have seen many tragedies and injustices done during the course of my 29 years as a police officer across this country. But nothing touched me the way that the public lynching, as I call it, of Mr. Floyd, nothing touched me in that manner. And while I'm disappointed about it, and I'm disappointed that police officers were responsible for this, I'm very optimistic about the future. And I truly believe that the deaths of the individuals we're here to honor today and many others are truly the turning point for this country. I think we can all attest to the fact that never in our history or in our lifetime have we seen global protests crying for equality, crying for an end to racism, crying for people to be treated fairly and with dignity and respect. There's something different about this. Something very different. I know that things are going to change. And I know that police processes have been under scrutiny and under the microscope. And as a responsible law enforcement executive, I welcome that. We need that. I think the public needs to understand, and we haven't done a great job at this as police departments across this country, that we are a part of this community in all communities and not a part from these communities. We live in these communities. The overwhelming majority of the men and women get up every day, put on this uniform to go out and protect and serve, with the understanding that I may not come home that night, but still they do it. I can only speak for the officers here in Delaware because those are the ones I'm most closely associated with. Have we had issues in Delaware from time to time? Yes. But I've also seen brave men and women go out of their way to make a difference, go out of their way to listen to the concerns of the community. And we're going to continue to do that. We have to. If we want to see the difference, everybody wants to see the change. And the only way that we're going to see that change is by us all coming together. This is not the divided states of America. This is the United States of America. This right here, when you look at this rainbow of colors of people here, this is what we need to make the changes that we all want to see. All of us coming together. This is not a black issue. This is not a white issue. This is not a brown issue. This is a human issue. This is something that affects all of us. And the only way that we're going to be able to make a difference and turn it around is by coming together united. I stand committed. Our officers are here with me, some of them, my officers. We stand committed to make that difference and to work with you and show you what we can do if we all come together as one. It's starting to rain. I'm going to sit down. My hair might get messed up. Thank you.